Hi friends, I welcome you all at Craig Redby. In the video lecture series of economic and social issues, we have compiled various economic and social issues from January 2021, and these issues are very important for RBI Grade B exam because these issues will fulfill your requirement of syllabus given under this RBI Grade B exam. So what is our first issue? Recently, RBI has launched Digital Payment Index. Why the government has launched this Digital Payment Index? Because the RBI wants to track India's cashless economy growth and they want to boost the adoption of digital payment across the country and map the penetration of the cashless economy. In a simple word, we can say that RBI wants to check that digitization process in India is up to the mark or they want some more requirement from RBI side. So by keeping in mind, they have announced a statement on development and regulatory policy as a part of the 6th bi-monthly monetary policy statement 2019-20 on February 6, 2020. So the Reserve Bank of India has constructed a composite digital payment index to capture the extent of digitization across the country. So this is the main motive of the digital payment index. Moreover, RBI DPI, Reserve Bank of India Digital Payment Index will be published on the central bank's website, that is RBI. You can have this digital payment index publishment on semi-annual basis from March 2020 onwards with a lag of 4 months. The RBI has prepared this digital payment index on these following 5 parameters and they have given some weightage according to their requirement in the system. For example, for payment enablers, the weight is given 25%. Payment infrastructure from demand side factor, they have given 10%. Payment infrastructure supply side, they have given 15%. Payment performance, that is 45%. And finally, consumer centricity, they have given 5%. In detail, these 5 parameters are subdivided into various parameters. These parameters are under the payment enablers, internet can comes, mobile, Aadhaar, bank account, participants and merchants. These all are the payment enabler. For example, if you want to digitize any country, then what is the availability of the internet at this location? If we talk about the northeast area, if we talk about the interior part of the country, are we able to provide internet? Without internet, we are not able to digitize our country. So that's why under this payment enabler, we are talking about this internet. The second is payment infrastructure under the demand side. Demand side what? How much debit cards are there in picture? How much credit cards are there? Prepaid payment instruments, customers, Paytm and PhonePe. How much persons are using this platform for the digital transactions? FASTags. Under the supply side, bank branches, business correspondents, ATMs, point of sale terminals, QR codes, intermediates. What are the situations of all these infrastructure from demand and supply side? They will also talk about the digital, they will also fulfill the requirement of the digital payment index in India. The payment under the payment performance, which have given the 45% weightage, digital payment system volume, digital payment system value, unique user, paper cleaning, currencies in circulation, cash withdrawals. Under the consumer centricity, we will see awareness and education. How much people are aware? How much people are educated to use this digital transaction? Can our family members are doing our payment by Paytm or PhonePe, or they require some more infrastructure and more awareness and more education? Declines, complaints, frauds, system downtimes. So these all are the sub parameters which I have told, which will come under the main parameters which I have told you in the previous slide, like these 5 parameters. So this was all about the digital payment index. Now we see IFSCA becomes an associated member of IOSCO. It is a very important news recently. In actual, the International Financial Services Center Authority, it is from India, has become an associated member of International Organization Security Commission, that is called IOSCO. So in this video, in this slide, we will see what is the difference between IFSCA and IOSCO and what is the significance that India has become, and this organization IFSCA has become the associated member of this IOSCO, that is called International Organization of Security Commission. Let us know about the IOSCO. It is found in April 1983 and its headquarters is situated at Madrid, Spain. IOSCO has Asia Pacific hub is located in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. The most important part of this that it is the world security regulator and covering more than 95% of the world security market, and it is also the global standard setter for the security sector. Moreover, it works intensively with G20 companies, G20 groups and financial stability boards on the global regulatory reform agenda. What is the objective and principle of this security regulations? Its objective and principles are endorsed by the Financial Stability Board. It is one of the key standards of the sound financial system. I will talk you about this, tell you about this Financial Stability Board in next slide. Now, what is the ISCO enforcement role? Extended to matter of interpretation of international financial reporting standards, where ISCO maintains confidential database of enforcement action taken by the member agency. So we can say that it is covering 95% of the security regulator. It is endorsed the Financial Stability Board. It works intensively with G20 countries, and it is also interpreting the standards set by the IFRS. So we can say that it is a very significant organization for security regulators, and this IFSC is going to link with it, going to associate, becoming an associated member of this IOSCO. So it is a great achievement of the Indian side, and it is a great achievement of the International Financial Service Authority of India. We also try to know that what is this International Financial Reporting Standard does. IFRS is an accounting standard that has been issued by International Accounting Standard Board with the objective of providing common accounting language to increase transparency. If China want to work in their language and other countries want to work in their language and they want to set accounting standard, then this organization are helping them to provide a common accounting language to increase transparency. Because as we all know that there are various standards set by the different countries. So we can say that this organization, International Accounting Standard Board, is giving a common platform to give the common type of language to increase the transparency in their present financial system. Now, so what is the importance of this Financial Stability Board? Actually, this FSB promotes international financial stability. It does so by coordinating national financial authority and international standard setting body as they work towards developing strong regulatory, supervisory and financial sector policies. So we can say that it fosters a level playing field by encouraging coherent implementation of the policies across the sector and jurisdiction. Now, we come to the IFSCA. What is the role of this IFSCA? It is the first international financial service center in India. and it has been set up at the Gujarat International Financial Tech City, that is called GIFT. And what is the role of this IFSCA? It regulates such institution and government establishment with its headquarters in Gandhinagar, Gujarat. Now, we come to the significance of the membership. What is going to help for Indian point of view, and what is IFSCA is getting from this membership? So, it would provide IFSCA the platform to exchange information, the first and most important point, at the global level and also at the regional level on areas of common interest. So, most important part is exchange of information of common interest at global and regional level. Now, IOSCO is also providing a platform to learn from their experience and best practices, because IOSCO has a greater global platform. So India is going to learn best practices from there for the regulators of other well establishments. Okay. So it was all about IFSCA. We will see the next. It is a Payment Infrastructure Development Fund, was established by the RBI. The Reserve Bank of India is setting up a Payment Infrastructure Development Fund with a corpus of 500 crore. What is the importance of this Payment Infrastructure Development Fund? It is a fund to give a push to digital payment nationwide. Now, the Payment Infrastructure Development Fund has been created to encourage acquired to deploy point of sale infrastructure both at physical and digital level. Now, what are the target geographies? Mostly the target was to digitize, to give the push to the digital payment in tier 3 and tier 4 cities. The percentage of share in this is 30%. In tier 5 and tier 6 it is 60%, and in northern eastern state it is 10%. So we can say that the government is pushing more digitization towards these 3, 4, 5, 6 and northeastern state. And what is the time period? It is given 3 years from 1st January 2021 to, and it may be extended for 2 more years. Now, this Payment Infrastructure Fund will be managed by a advisory council under the chairmanship of Deputy Governor, that is Mr. P.P. Kanungo, and the Chief General Manager, Department of Payment and Settle System of Reserve Bank of India will be will function as the secretary to this advisory council. So how we are managing this fund? By this advisory council, and it is headed by the RBI Deputy Governor, and the secretariat will be handled by the Department of Payment and Settlement System. How much fund is allocated? From RBI side it is 250 crore, and they also earn the money for this Payment Infrastructure Development Fund, that is 100 crore. Another amount will be received from the authorized card network. There are one more option of recurring contribution. Besides this initial corpus, the PIDF shall also receive annual contribution from card network and card issuing banker as under. For example, under the card network, on turnover basis, 1 basis point, that is 0.001 paisa, will be given to this PIDF on per rupees of the transaction. On the card issuing bank, on turnover basis, 1 basis point and 2 basis point, 0.01 paisa and 0.02 paisa per rupees of transaction for debit and credit card respectively, and also at the rate of 1 and 2, 3 for every new and credit card issued by them respectively during the year. So how this fund is going to be established? Either 250 crore from RBI side, authorized network is giving 100 crore, and there are also recurring contribution. So this fund will be used as a payment infrastructure development fund and it will help in digitization of the country. Now, why the need of this PIDF is generated? Over the years, the payment ecosystem in the country has evolved a wide range of options such as the bank accounts, mobile phone, cards, etc. To further flip to the digitization of the payment system, it is necessary to give impetus to acceptance infrastructure across the country, more on underserved areas. What are the underserved areas? I have told you these are the tier 3, tier 4 cities, tier 5 and tier 6 cities and northeastern states. In tier 3 and tier 4 cities, 30% share. In tier 5 and 6, 60%, and for northern state, eastern state, it is given 10 rupees. So we can say that this PIDF is giving more impetus to acceptance of infrastructure across the country where the areas are underserved. Now the last topic for today, National Human Rights Commission recommended on manual scavenging. First of all, we know that what is a manual scavenging. It is a practice of manually cleaning, carrying, disposing of, handling human excreta. According to 2001 census, there are more than 26 insanitary latrines in the country, and the existence of the insanitary latrines is the main reason for manual scavenging. So what National Human Rights Commission recommended? They recommended expanding the definition of manual scavenging in order to cover the hazardous cleaning, or enacting a new law for hazardous cleaning. Hazardous cleaning means septic tank cleaning. It is very hazardous to clean a septic tank because most of the harmful gases are coming out from this septic tank, and if a man is cleaning this septic tank, it can be hazardous to their life. There should be a penalty to prevent harassment of women and manual scavengers and children of manual scavengers. Schemes for rehabilitation for manual scavengers to be linked to the program of Manrega. And one-time cash assistance is increased from 40 lakh to 1 lakh for giving to rehabilitate a manual scavenger, and this payment should be given directly to their account. And with the death during sewer or septic tank, which I have told you earlier, tank cleaning occur every year. It's said that National Crime Records Bureau should monitor such cases, including the data in its annual report. And finally, Finance Ministry should designate a nationalized bank for state to extending loans to the manual scavenger, and this loan can be taken by their dependent, and limit should be 10 lakh for setting up their business, for rehabilitation, we can say that. So these all are the National Human Rights Commission recommendation regarding the manual scavenging in India. It is also the social and social issues from exam point of view. So this was all from my side, and we have discussed all these 4 to 5 issues. In next video, we will come up with more social and economic issues. Till then, happy learning. पढ़ते रहिए, मेहनत करते रहिए.